Today we're reading The Country Without an Army. At the close of the ceremony honoring him, the dark haired, impeccably dressed 46-year-old passed among the many dignitaries gathered at San Jose Metropolitan Cathedral. He stopped before a frail, elderly man who had tears of joy streaming down his cheeks and embraced him. On this occasion, Costa Ricans had gathered to celebrate their president, Oscar Arias Sanchez. Arias was about to leave for Oslo to receive the 1987 Nobel Prize for Peace. So, we're talking about the Costa Rican president, Oscar Arias Sanchez. Let's learn about why he's an important figure. This award was to be conferred upon Arias because he was the main architect of an accord known as the Arias Peace Plan. It was signed that year by representatives from Nicaragua, Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Honduras. It affirmed the intentions of these countries to make a strong effort to end the armed conflict that had embroiled parts of Central America for decades. Arias was uniquely qualified to initiate this effort. For almost 40 years, his country had enjoyed both domestic tranquility and a democratic political system. Both of these blessings had been bequeathed to Costa Rica by its former president, Jose Figueres Ferrer, the man Arias now embraced. So, Arias was known for making this peace plan, right? So there were dignitaries there, representatives from Nicaragua, Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, um, promising that those countries would end the armed conflict that had been going on in Central America for a long, long time. It was really dangerous there because of all the conflict. So this was a plan to end all those struggles. And the previous president, Figueres, was at that ceremony for the Nobel Peace Prize and was the old man that Arias had hugged or embraced. In the early 1940s, Figueres was a successful but largely unknown coffee planter. He was outraged by the country's corrupt government. Like those that had preceded it, the government rigged elections. It shot or jailed political opponents. It allowed the army to brutalize the population into abject submission. In 1942, Figueres had gave a radio speech attacking the country's president. For this act, he was sent into exile. But his courageous defiance made him a national hero. 6 years later, he led an armed coup that toppled the government. So, back in the 1940s, Figueres, who was not president yet, was just a coffee planter. Costa Rica is known for planting and selling their coffee all over the world. But the government at the time was terrible. They treated everybody horribly. The elections were rigged, so it didn't matter how people voted. They scared their people into obeying them. But Figueres attacked the president with his speech, and he was sent to exile. And later, he led a coup that overthrew the government. The year 1948 marked the beginning of a new epoch in Costa Rican history. In May of that year, Figueres formed a new government. Within months, his government had transformed Costa Rica. Among the reforms he instituted were full voting rights to women, low-cost health care, and free and open elections. But his most amazing accomplishment was the renunciation of war. This was not mere rhetoric. Figueres followed up his declaration by abolishing Costa Rica's army. Taking a sledgehammer, he struck the symbolic blow that began the destruction of the army's headquarters. As the head of the National Liberation Party, which he formed, Figueres was 3 times elected president of his country. Each re-election further indicated the strong rapport that existed between citizens and his leader. So Figueres made a point to repair the relationship between the people of Costa Rica and their government. So he made voting rights for women, healthcare that was affordable, and free open elections where people's votes would now count. And the renunciation of war. This was not mere rhetoric. He didn't just say they weren't going to go to war anymore, but he actually abolished the army. So Costa Rica, from then on did not have an army anymore. That's how much Figueres did not want Costa Rica to be at war. Now in 1987, the aged Costa Rican patriarch stood on the steps of the Metropolitan Cathedral with Oscar Arias Sanchez, the younger man he hoped would carry their dream of peace beyond the nation's frontiers. The former and current presidents acknowledged the cheers of the people as they made their way on foot and without need of protection to the National Museum of Culture. This museum was once the site of the Citadel, headquarters for the army. Observing the two leaders, an onlooker commented, "It was as though George Washington had appeared at the inauguration of John F. Kennedy." Oscar Arias Sanchez served as president until 1990 and was re-elected to a second term, which he served from 2006 until 2010. Between terms as president, he used his Nobel Peace Prize money to establish the Arias Foundation for Peace and Human Progress. So now with Arias as the president, Figueres was hoping that he would continue this peace beyond even the Costa Rican borders. And now where the Citadel, the army headquarters, used to be, is the National Museum of Culture. So people observing said it was as though George Washington appeared at the inauguration of John F. Kennedy. So these two presidential figures in Costa Rica were seen as very fine, upstanding presidents with very, very good, pure reputations to the people. And that's all about those two presidents of Costa Rica. Thank you for listening today. We do have links that are related to each of our articles. If you want the links related to this one here, you can find it down in the description below.